City Council, special council meeting will come to order. It's Tuesday, November 6, 2007. We have roll call, Ms. Steele.
Mr. Marshall.
Present.
Mr. Fowler.
Here.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Lawson.
Wait.
Mr. Silver.
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Hobbs.
Here. Okay, we'll go to C.
I'll move.
Executive session is to consider an executive session for an update on the following items. Is to hear from the city attorney and attorneys Craig Davidson and John Sharp on pending litigation and settlement matters concerning the matter of the City of Alexandria versus Clico Corporation. Number 2 is to hear from attorney Jay Augustine on the status. Do you want me to read all these?
I'll move. Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Marshall.
Need a roll call
Roll
vote.
call.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Silver,
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Hobbs, Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Okay, I would ask the city attorney that will probably take number 2 first, and then deal with number 1. All right.
You ready, Jack?
Move to adjourn. Move to adjourn.
Executive session.
I need to get a motion and a second. Come out of the chair. Okay, move. Mr. Smith, second. Mr. Fowler, come out of executive session. At this time, I think, we got the city attorney.
Yep.
You want? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Nancy, in the matter of Blade versus the City of Alexandria, civil suit number 220643, today the council met with the attorney of record, Morgan Passman. The administration at this time would ask for a resolution from the council to exhaust the limits of the city's self-insured retention policy in the amount of $150,000 as a maximum cap, so that the case can be settled.
I so move. Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, also in the matter of N. Ray Ratcliffe Construction Company, the council of record in that matter, Mr. Jay Augustine, also presented the council with an update. At this time, the administration would ask for a resolution allowing the city attorney's office through Montgomery Barnett to take all necessary steps to bring about the resolution of that matter and to protect the city's interests as far as any cost in attorney's fees, which we have incurred to this point.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Smith.
That first one, Eddie, you can do it by resolution ordinance. That's money.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Good on
Yeah,
resolution.
it's,
If you need to, or if you feel more comfortable, I can get a fact sheet together. We can just introduce it tonight.
Yeah, I think.
Let's do that in order.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll have it covered 2 ways.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move adjourned, unless there's other business.
Okay, you gonna do the resolution, but she's.
the drafting. Yeah.
Okay, the move for adjournment.
President, and also the tardy most. The first will be the James Branch on the authorizing acceptance of the subdivision plat for Younger Commercial. James Branch?
Yes, sir. That's just a subdivision of a piece of property located on Macaulay Drive. It's a car wash. He's got a buyer for the back part of his property. He needs to subdivide it so he'll be able to sell that. And it's just a minor re-subdivision already.
meets with all the commitments, so therefore you're recommending it. Second? All those in favor, signify by aye. Opposed, same sign. You have something else you want to bring before we go to fast track?
Yes, sir, it's good. I have McDonald Phase 3 drainage improvements. I'd like to introduce an ordinance for introduction, or request the council to accept one for introduction for the budget amendment. They're using, or with the city's using CDBG funds to fund this project, along with some utility funds. And we would like to get the budget amendment introduced, because we are going to award the contract tonight. In 2 weeks, the budget amendment could be finalized, and we can start construction, which is imperative, as they need to use these CDBG funds by February, end of February.
What project is that?
McDonald Phase 3. We've completed phases 1 and 2, and this is the final phase.
What is the budget amendment?
The budget amendment is for, it's $373,000. It's, like I say, it's up for adoption tonight, the contract, and I don't have that fact sheet with me. But the low bid was $373,000, which was a little less than the estimate. Actually came in under.
I'll move. Second.
Any further discussion? If not, move.
And I'm
Yeah,
also
and something else.
requesting, introduce an ordinance accepting a plan development located, it's called Village of Versailles. It's behind Burger King on Jackson Street. I have the prospectus of the, it's a plan development. It passed through the zoning commission at their last meeting, and we're requesting to introduce acceptance by the council tonight for final acceptance in 2 weeks.
I know just a little bit about this. This is, I think, one of those planned unit developments, and it kind of blends from a commercial to a residential, and it's separated by anyway.
Well, it'll be separated by landscaping and such. The bayou runs along the back of it.
Right, runs between the residential.
That's correct.
But I think this is one of the things that the mayor was very adamant about in his campaign about PUDs and so forth. And I think this fits the model pretty much exactly, and also move.
I don't think I ever talked about a PUD once in the family.
I'll give you credit.
I think PUDs and ducks are, that's Susan who calls them that.
This would be held over for 2 weeks. Did you want, is this also in reference to the DOT on Jackson Street?
It needs to go back to Public Works too.
Yes.
Both of these.
Yes.
Well, the other one, is that where it needs to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, send it back.
If there's another little contingency too, I want you to mention, because I don't like any secrets.
Yeah, well,
I want to be completely transparent.
right. They have to present their plan to DOTD, a new law that the state legislature passed in March, which requires any development that's going to produce a certain number of trips, vehicle trips, has to be approved by DOTD, and they will have to present to them prior to our meeting in 2 weeks, accepting the ordinance to accept this plan development.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
The only thing I'd like to talk about is drainage again. All that water that runs down Versailles Street runs across Jackson because of the highway department hasn't got the okay to put drainage in. And these gentlemen here have told me that they got ponds to build. But I just want everybody to be aware that we're still flooding over there in Plantation Acres, and this is going to send more water our way.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Redmond has volunteered to critique what happens here this afternoon. He's going to call the radio station tomorrow, so if you make one mistake, I'm going to call your...
I don't make mistakes on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay. We'll submit this tonight. Anything else that you have?
No, sir, we can move on to fast track.
I will go to fast track, Earl. Mr. Eric Duck.
I think I've already handed Operation Fast Track November 6th out to you. I'd like to bring to your attention on number one, our Versailles project. Bids have been received, and they were within the available funds for the deep sewer project. So anticipate that project moving along and going to construction. Number 3, the meeting that was done in Baton Rouge, held in Baton Rouge, confirmed that the TIP is financially constrained, and we would not be able to push Sugar House forward unless one of the other projects stumbled and they couldn't go to bids on. So we kind of have to wait our turn on that. And hopefully-
Mr. Duck, could you explain to the council too that that was an election we made
Right.
considering being regionally minded? There were other projects that had gone ahead of it, and because, gentlemen, we're not doing it under DOTD, which is what that was pursuing it under, we're doing it under capital outlay, as y'all know. So we're trying to take a much quicker route and thought that was the fair thing to do too. So it wasn't that we didn't follow up on something, it was just the opposite.
Thank you, Mayor, for that explanation. The Sugar House project was originally set up as part of the TIP, and since that project is so strapped for money, we possibly have another way to go.
Eric, if we had pursued it under that, as financially constrained as it is, tell the council how long it would
Oh,
be.
it's going to be like, what, 2011, I believe, or 2012 before funds would be available. And I don't know that we want to wait that long.
Hopefully we won't have to.
Yes, sir.
Eric, before you go any further, I know they got this Versailles. Is this tied up somewhere with this?
No, it has nothing to do with
No.
that. That's more of a zoning issue.
Right, that's a
It's land development.
commercial development, basically.
So I know, but I'm saying this will have, it's not on the street, but this, do it with drainage.
No. That's
It's
a
not even on
private.
Versailles.
Huh?
It's not even on Versailles, is it?
Well, it connects to it.
Yeah,
There would be
but
an
it
entrance,
is.
right, off of
We
Versailles.
have a drive.
That's what I was just wondering, when we do this other, would that take some of the drainage off what Mr.
No, this is on
No way.
the Jackson Street, this project that you got in your hand is on the Jackson Street side of the bayou, and what we're doing on Versailles is on the other side.
So there's no way we can alleviate
No.
what Mr.
No, that borders the bayou.
So there's no way we can do anything for them?
Not with that project, no.
No.
We can prevent it from making their problem worse, but we can't do anything to alleviate their problem with that.
All right.
Continue.
The next item is number 5, Hyman Lane, and I didn't have a lot to add to this, but construction is continuing out there, and paving is going very well, and my understanding is they're going to try to do the actual intersection at Castle and Hyman during the holidays while the school's out.
They're actually working on it right now.
Yeah, they
It's supposed to
did
be
move
3 weeks.
in and start some stuff, but the original was that they were gonna wait, but I guess something happened and they needed to move forward with it a little bit. Number 8, I just have that the council will be updated by others on the progress of the park improvements. Number 13, on the McAdams ditch, work is progressing well, and probably over half of the box culverts have been installed. I had a lady call today and ask about, she had heard rumors that we were going to fix to put a street all the way to Hyman Lane.
On top of that,
Yeah, I assure you that wasn't this particular project. I just talked to the engineer on the number 16 Hudson Boulevard Drainage Project. He called me just before I left the office, and he said that they were finishing up their plans and going to send those to us today or tomorrow. So we'll have another set of plans in the office. Number 21, Southern Heights subdivision, we did a plan in hand review of that and with the engineer, and made some small changes or additions to the project, and those plans should be ready very soon. Number 22, the extension of Cloverleaf, work is continuing out there. Of that's next to of course, the new Walmart on 28 West, and the contractor had started earthwork and drainage, and he's progressing. Not a lot to show yet, but there's a lot of stuff going on out there. Number 23, the Bayou Roberts and Landmark Phase 5. Contractor's moving very well with that, basically finished. I haven't actually been out there, James.
With the ditch, he's
Yeah,
just,
the ditch is basically dug, and there's just a few minor things to be done to complete that project.
You anticipate any problem with the Corps getting permission?
no, so we've done that.
Done all that, secured that. Number 26, in the Wooddale drainage, some minor changes were required to complete the project. The contractor is actively working on the last work items on the Phase 1. The Phase 2, of course, is already complete. Number 28, the Bayou Rapids multi-use pedestrian bike trail. Previously, I'd put in that there was 3 servitudes to be obtained by the city. One of those servitudes have been obtained, and one is in the final stages. We've already contacted the owners and agreed to the language change in the documents. So it's just a matter of changing that document and getting the owners to sign. And we still have one parcel remaining. Number 29, McDonald Street improvements, Phase 3. That award is pending, and as James had already mentioned, that we'll go to construction with that real soon. Enterprise Road, I've received the additional set of plans, and they're under review. The Applebee's number 32, Applebee's to Dorchester. Those drawings are being reviewed in the office and will be sent out to the engineer this week. On the number 33, the fence at the golf course, about 65% complete. The posts and things are being constructed at this time. Contractor thought he would be finished by the week of Thanksgiving. He called me today and said that his superintendent broke his leg.
Oh, no.
So he's trying to get somebody else in here and to complete the project. So I told him we'd try to work with him on it, but try to get it finished as soon as we can. Bayou Henson drainage number 38. Contractor will start soon on this. We had the pre-construction conference and just waiting for time to get in there to do that. And that's all the major items that I have. There's some additional items that I may not have brought in the verbal, but if you have any questions, we'll try to answer them.
Didn't the McDonald's come in today, or the bids today?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
McDonald will be awarded tonight.
tonight.
You know,
I don't know the
KDC.
KDC.
and on number 6, 3rd Street.
3rd Street.
St. James to Broadway, you know, I think they had it mixed up in the paper.
Yeah, I believe they did.
Had it mixed up in the paper.
Description wrong, yeah. so-
Yeah, I mean, it was from up here to finish this part off. Because the people were calling me about from St. James to what's called, where they gonna start, they talking about putting benches and things. It wasn't, it's to finish this project off
Right.
from Jackson
To St. James.
to St. James. And then it went in the paper that it was from St. James to Broadway, and that hadn't started yet.
Project, yeah, we hadn't started that.
That's all right. Anything else to
I
come?
have
Yes,
one
sir.
thing. One item is introduction, authorization to enter a cooperative endeavor agreement with Bolina Farms for relocation of electric utilities to accommodate the construction of Tennyson Oaks subdivision phases 8 and 9. They will reimburse the city 100% of the cost on this, but they need to cooperative endeavor, and like again, they send it to utility for review in 2 weeks.
Make that, make sure she gets to Nancy. Thank you. Is there anything else to come before the
I would like
Public
to,
Works?
Mayor. Yes. I would like to, I'm asking since Public Works, why can we place the Chapman Canal and what we're doing with the Corps of Engineers in a part of fast track? I'm wondering, would that be,
You
I mean,
theoretically could.
it's not gonna be immediately, but it'll be under our capital projects. I mean, I saw in the paper, you know, I was reading in your
There's some
paper
money.
today, I know they had a little section where the city put up
Yes.
300 and some thousand, but before you got here, we supposed to put up 100,000 a year. But we play a big part in that. I mean, I know we got a real bit of coverage, I know what they doing, but we've been putting up, you know, we putting up tonight, we're gonna introduce for 325,000. And I'm saying, we got a lot in here, I was just wondering, would it fall under category?
Yes, Mr. Smith, it
Put
could.
it on the fast track since we, I mean, we're gonna be, you know, be dealing with this. It's not gonna be immediate, but
Right.
I just think that we can really, when they give us something, we can keep them abreast.
There's a couple of items in it that I would need to have Eric check into. We talked to him about that a little bit. It's a very good question, and one of the issues is there are some credits we could receive through matches that if we go do first, we won't be able to get recouped on the back end, and so we didn't want to step in and miss the chance to do that. But it's a good question. We're going to look into it a little more because there actually may be some parts that we could start doing now.
Because see, we put up 20,000. We suppose they put
Yes.
up 20. I don't think they ever drawn it down. But I'm saying if we put it like number 41 and 42, and we put on that extension of a report whenever we can get something, you know, we just,
We have a couple of projects that are in our top 40 that could be, if we do those projects after a certain time, and they said around March, if we do it after that time, then the money that we spend at these particular locations would benefit our portion that we have to put up to do the
Yeah.
major project, assuming that the Corps and the Congress gives us the money to do this project. So we don't want to do it too soon because
No,
we won't get credit.
no,
for it.
I'm not saying we're gonna do it too soon, but I'm saying under 41 or 42, under Chatelain, when working with the Corps of Engineers, that so far we have put up 325,000, and it's pending up to next year or whatever that report. If I'm not here or somebody else, whenever it comes, you know, you say we haven't heard anything, but they still working there in Washington D.C. or what, so it'll keep, you know, just keep us abreast of whoever.
Certainly.
I mean, we know it's not gonna be done overnight, but we've been on this thing for 20 years. So that's what I'm saying. I was just wondering, could we,
We can include something.
Just
in the report.
look-
Every time that we have any specific dealings.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, we can bring those reports forward. That's not a
yeah,
problem.
I mean,
Anything else to come up before Public Works? If not, thank you very much for standing adjourned and defer to the legal.
legal.
That's
What
it.
is it, legal? Call the legal committee meeting to order. Smith and Mr. Lawson, Mr. Johnson is not here, and we're going to deal with the first item. Consider final adoption of order amending Article 3, Section 10-35 through Section 10-43 of the Alexandria City Code pertaining to the Small and Emerging Business Development Program. It's book item number 31.
Mr. Smith, I will bring the council committee up to date and also give this explanation in general to all council members. If you recall, this matter has been before legal on one earlier occasion, and there were certain amendments added at that time. During the discussion with the committee, there were additional questions raised that the mayor and his staff wanted to address with some subsequent amendments. We have been over the issues that Mr. Lawson and other members raised. Ms. Jennings will address some of those specifically. The mayor and his staff have finalized the amendments to the Small and Emerging Business Enterprise Development Program, and there is one set of the amendments, I think, in your book, set out as just succinct amendments, and then there'll be a color-coded draft which shows the existing proposed ordinance. Those highlights are the changes that are reflected on the amendment sheet. Some of the amendments are technical, but I will go over these if the committee will give me a moment to go through some of the changes. There are specifically at this time from the administration 8 amendments to the draft ordinance, which has been engrossed. The first amendment is an amendment to the title to show that we are enacting Section 10.38.3 related to the Alexandria Fairness, Equality, Accessibility, and Teamwork Program, provide for reservations of preferences, procedures, and preferences. Amendment number 2, and I will discuss all of these in general first. Amendment number 2 is to Section 1035. There are some changes after the word workforce development, deletes the term division, and inserts in lieu thereof the phrase and small business retention. Amendment number 3 amends Section 1036.1 to add the additional sentence. This program shall encompass several components, including the, quote, Alexandria Fairness, Equality, Accessibility, and Teamwork Program. It's going to be known as AFEAT. The Alexandria Bonding Assistance Program, ABAP, and the Alexandria Financial Intermediary Initiative Program, and it's AFIB, AFFIB. Amendment number 4 amends various sections in Section 1037 to add a definition for minority to mean any individual who is a citizen or lawfully admitted permanent resident of the United States and who is an individual in one of the following groups: Black American, Hispanic American, Native American, Asian Pacific American, and Subcontinent Asian American. It deletes certain language and amends the definition of minority business enterprise or minority-owned business to colon, the business shall be at least 51% owned and controlled in both form and substance by one or more minorities. Only businesses who are independently owned, operated, not dominant in their field of operation, meet the Small Business Administration's definition of a small business concern as determined by the U.S. SBA small business size standards, and which are registered by the city, will be allowed to participate in and benefit from this program. It adds a definition, also taken from a federal reg, the North American Industry Classification System Code, which is used in business and government to classify and measure economic activity. NASIC was developed jointly by the U.S., Canada, and Mexico to provide comparability and statistics about business activity across North America. It redefines the definition of reservation to state, quote, reservation, a technique which limits consideration of bids and proposals to those regulations and requirements as may from time to time be instituted by this article in state law. In the definition of significant local presence, to add the disjunctive word or between the little I paragraph and the second paragraph 2. It adds an additional definition, United States Small Business Administration Small Business Size Standards. This table lists small business size standards matched to industries described in the North American Industry Classification System as modified by the Office of Management Budget in 2007. The size standards are mostly expressed in either millions of dollars or number of employees. A size standard is the largest that a for-profit concern can and still qualifies as small business. And it amends the definition of women business enterprise or woman-owned business to delete reference to certain state law, which states as defined by RS 39-1732, which is certified by the State of Louisiana Department of Commerce as a woman business enterprise or own business. This shall mean a business, end quote, and restates the definition, women business enterprise or women-owned business, a small business that is at least 51% owned by a woman or women who also control and operate it. Control in this context means exercising the power to make policy decisions. Operate in this context means being actively involved in the day-to-day management. In determining whether a business is 51% owned by a woman or women, the percentage ownership of the women or women shall not be diminished because she is a part of a community property regime, end quote. Before I get to amendment number 5, I did want to address several of those changes in definitions. Mr. Lawson and others had raised some important questions, and basically what we've done, gentlemen, is provide that we're adopting a city standard to determine these businesses, and we're not capping them in the same way the state does. This would allow, for instance, a businessman who may have a net worth considerable above what certain state standards are to set up a new ongoing, say a new emerging business, and that business person would be qualified under our standards. If I could go on, amendment number 5 will amend section 1038 to add after the word program in the first sentence the additional phrase and its components, and amends the name of the several components to the Alexandria Bonding Assistance Program, the Alexandria Financial Intermediary Initiative, and the Alexandria Fairness, Equality, Accessibility, and Teamwork Program, respectively. Further amends the AFEET program language to delete the word shall and in lieu thereof provide may after appropriate supportive findings, and adds the additional sentences, quote, appropriate supportive findings shall follow disparity studies, which shall from time to time be used as a prerequisite to validate programmatic modifications. The programming may involve the city's construction of web-based interactivity and informational meetings with local contractors to provide educational, promotional, and training components to interested parties willing to participate in the programs and its components. We're also adding 2 amendments, number 6 and number 7, and they are reserved as we are still working on Small Business Development Program bonding assistance over and beyond what we've already introduced. And we're also reserving a potential section in the future for the Small Business Development Program financial intermediary, and some of those points we covered earlier and we'll get to in a moment. Amendment number 7 amend section 10-38.3, paragraph 2, to delete the phrase to the extent allowed by state law up to, end quote, and insert in lieu thereof, quote, to the extent allowed by RS 38-2233, and in no event less than, quote, for minority preferences, and adds, quote, as shown by disparity impact analysis, end quote, after the word data, and deletes, quote, are women-owned after the word minority in the last sentence. Amend section 10.38.3, paragraph, quote, 3, to delete the phrase to the extent allowed by law up to and insert in lieu thereof to the extent allowed by RS 38:2233 and in no event less than, end quote, for women preferences, and adds as shown by disparity impact analysis, end quote, after the word data, and deletes, quote, of minority or, end quote, after the word number in the last sentence, period. If I could comment on those that amendment number 7, those were basically, there's 2 reasons we did that amendment. One was to delineate, one paragraph is dealing with minority, one is dealing with women businesses. But also, the administration thought it was important to allow preferences to the maximum extent allowed by state law, which is up to that percentage that we talked about earlier. Further, the amendment Section 38.3 deletes the phrase "in order to start the separate reservation program" after the words "agreement." Finally, amendment number 8 would amend Section 10, Section 40, paragraph little a, end quote, regarding certification of eligibility to replace the State of Louisiana Department of Commerce with, quote, "City of Alexandria," end quote, and deletes the reference to law Louisiana Revised Statute 39:1732 and R 51:941-945 in the entire last sentence. It also amends Section 1040, paragraph B to delete the phrase, quote, "the State of Louisiana, Department of Commerce, Office of Minority Business Enterprise and Office of Women's Business Enterprise," and inserts a state authorized certification process. Again, this was done at Mr. Lawson's inquiry and request because we want to go to a test that's based on city certification standards rather than the standards that the state has. That would allow the broadest ability of small businessmen and women to participate in new, small, emerging businesses, which the council and the administration thinks very important. Those are the amendments submitted by the administration.
I have two more technical ones whenever you get there.
Okay. And I was going to say that Ms. Jennings may have some specific questions, but I will be glad to answer some that deal with the
The
technical.
last one you just read,
Yes, sir.
you're saying that each business or participates, be certified with the State of Louisiana Department of Commerce and Small Business. You're saying we're not covering.
Well, what we have done after looking at it, and listening to Mr. Lawson, and looking again at the statute, what we're doing is we're going to model our act based on our own certification as close as we can. Now, we're still using some,
But
Ms.
they don't have
Jennings.
to be part of the state, that's what I'm
Right, in other words, someone may not qualify at the state level that we wanted to be able to qualify at our level, but Ms. Jennings felt that it was important that we use some objective standards. She's referred to the SBA provisions, which she can address in a minute.
See, because like, on the state contract, you know, they went from like 50,000, you had to do 50,000, 75, 100,000. You know, I'm saying they started raising the amount of business you had to do before you get up under state contract.
Right, right.
You see, and I mean, the state really is, my only other question to this, Trey, I know the mayor can't bring this back to one of these today, but how are we protecting from, like when we were doing housing rehab and like demolition? I'm saying community development, one time we had where a lot of men were changing over and putting their wives in the business to get the 10% set aside, become a minority to get that type of business. I mean, what is our protection?
There, in the original ordinance that we have on the books now, and we're continuing it, there is an ability to review anyone who's trying to take advantage in an unjust manner of the benefits that could flow from this.
Specifically, Trey, 1040, if y'all look, D3, under decertification.
And what happens is that if a complaint is lodged, and they're usually lodged by another contractor who is, they all police themselves, I can tell you that. If there is a complaint lodged, there are certain basic due process considerations given, but if you, and I think it eventually comes to you as the council, if y'all determine that the entity is not sufficiently qualified under your guidelines, y'all would have some of the last say on that.
One other question, Mayor. Maybe not today, but could you bring back another time to legal to see how we going to monitor, you know, with, I'm saying with the disadvantaged business that's doing business with the city. I mean, like in purchasing, how are we going to know? I mean, could you bring us something back on?
Yes, sir.
Or how we, if they're going to Mr. Despina or they want to do business, you know, how are we going to know?
It's set up in here, but what I think Vaughn is going to do at maybe the next meeting or the one after that, what she can do is take, and she's done it for me once already, she can take an agenda and color code it. She did one for me just informally with different color highlights and showed a whole agenda, exactly what would happen with all of the requests we get, from professional service agreements to whatever, and you can look at a whole agenda and see where everything should go. And what we'll do is we'll put together some type of PowerPoint presentation that we can come and show you exactly how it would work and what things are in place to monitor that.
Okay, I'd like to see that.
One other-
And how we gonna monitor, I mean, from purchases and where we doing, and how you, I mean, I know what you're saying, we got different departments that buy under the bid limit. Can you, that's
Yeah,
one
that's a
thing I
very good
wanna see.
question, Councilman Smith. We're going to meet with I'm going to work with Mr. Crutchfield, the finance director, who'll be administering the program, and with the other division heads to be able to share with the public exactly what we anticipate we will purchase in a given year. We can produce a list of product and services and post it to the website, have it available in print, so that at the beginning of a fiscal year, the community, the city will have an idea of who are the purchasing agents in each department as well as the division, and what we anticipate we will purchase. Of what goods, what amount, what dollar amount we're looking at. And also, we're going to work with those individuals on a monthly basis initially, and once we smooth it out, perhaps a quarterly basis, to work out any problems that they're having. If they're having problems finding minority and women-owned vendors, that I understand previously that was a large problem, that there wasn't a list of minority and women-owned vendors that the purchasing agents and department heads could use when they're trying to reach their particular goals for the purchases that they make. But we're going to closely look at it, and it won't be something that, at the end of the year you find out, well, we haven't met the goal and we didn't have an opportunity to correct any problems that we were having along the way.
But when you bring that back, and you'll have a list of different chemicals and whatever we use in the city.
Yes, it's going
Well, that'd be good.
to, it's going to be a somewhat complex, not necessarily complicated, but complex task, and at the same time perhaps it's not. But it'll cause each department to have to perhaps, we're going to have to slow down and actually document some of this information and share it with the public. We want to put it on the website. We want to use all of the publications that we know that individuals in our community are reading, the Town Talk and others as well. Everyone, we're using the Town Talk right now, but we are going to have to look at using some other methods of doing that. Okay. We're going to better utilize our website and Channel 4.
Okay. Mayor has two other technical amendments.
Under 1036, Mr. Gist, strike the P after Alexandria Bonding Assistance Program in the acronym, in the parentheticals within the quote. Strike the
Under
P.
1036?
1036 under title.
Oh, okay, so it's going to be
It's
ADA?
right.
Okay.
Strike the P, and at the very end, there's a P within the last parenthetical, within the quotes, AFIIP, strike the P. And add,
Okay.
yeah, that's right, just strike the P.
That would be amendment number 3, gentlemen. That would be the Alexandria Bonding Assistance Program will be called the ADA program, and the Alexandria Financial Intermediary Initiative Program will be called AFIP.
AFI, yes. So, and then also, it'll be Alexandria Financial Intermediary Initiative. The last quotation mark should follow initiative.
Right.
And program not be within the
Right.
quotes.
Okay, anything else, Mayor?
That's it.
And I think the mayor told me to do that, and I forgot.
And Councilman Smith, let me give you a good example. On your, if you have a copy of the regular meetings agenda, there are resolutions 13 through 19 are all items that we would want to have in our directory of product and services. And these are items that after you all pass a resolution form, there's a resolution for authorizing advertisement for bids of janitorial chemicals for a 6-month period, for fire hydrants, for gas pipes. All of those items will be in this directory, and these items should move from here to going to the website and into publications, into bulletin postings before an actual vendor is selected, so that everyone in the community will have an opportunity to know what we're purchasing.
Okay, all right, thank you. I think, Mr. Good.
On
Section 5, coordination of all city departments. I was very excited to see that, because it means nothing. There's no coordination between, and buy-in between the city departments. But I noted where the departments shall appoint a representative, that doesn't pose any problem with civil services. I think it's good.
Very good question, and it very much could. We've been talking about that, but we think the way that we can work it out, at least in the initial run, is that it would be something that's already really required if it, in other words, it's not going to add to a classification, we don't think at this point. We did talk about that.
We did, and
we
Ms.
know how.
Jennings raised it, and we looked, and we don't, you can't burden a classified employee with some task that's not in the job description. But now the unclassifieds who work for the mayor, he can tell them what to do.
That's why I say when they each appoint, it's like the department is.
But also, I think, Mr. Lawson, for the folks that we would try to have do that in each one, we would always try to utilize someone that already has a fiscal requirement to their job, that they're already doing some type of reporting as purchasing agents. And that being the case, this would be a slight addition that we feel comfortable we can do.
I'd like to believe they would want to be involved, since it's their particular department.
But that's a very astute question. I mean,
Yes, sir,
that is an issue.
I wanted to make that one comment that you'd asked me to make, Mr. Smith, that,
we want to vote on this.
yes, sir, you want to, the first thing you want to do is adopt, and I would recommend they be
And
adopted.
then you give it, when you finish, get it right. I mean, adding that other little P or whatever.
I did. Miss Nancy and I just did that a second ago.
Okay.
If I could just make one general comment. Gentlemen, this ordinance is, if adopted this evening, will become effective immediately. The administration intends to move forward with this. The disparate study, the disparate impact study is we're working on that now. Some of the other features we can go and do immediately. Ms. Jennings will start work immediately on getting this information out to small and emerging businesses, to getting lists up, to getting people involved. Mr. Smith, we talked about the new tax incentives that the state may offer to protege mentors. The mayor and his staff are very interested in meeting with the new governor and some of his appointments to make sure that that program from the state continues. It's a very important tax credit program that could give larger corporations significant incentives, $50,000 per program with a small protege company that would qualify for the state program. We want to be on this as soon as we can so that we can get the impact here with some of our emerging small businesses. And we want to notify the larger companies, not just the contractors that build roads, but the hospitals, the larger corporations in the city, to take advantage of that specific program. And the mayor is very interested in dovetailing that into your program here.
Mr. Chairman, because I'm very much in favor of spending money at home, period. And if we can come up, make sure that we try to spend as much money. I can't see us buying sporting goods from a company out of Mississippi when we have sporting goods dealers here that might be able to participate in the deal. They're paying these taxes too, and they're collecting these taxes, so I think that they should be given an opportunity to participate in the system. And I'm just using sporting goods as an example, but just about anything we buy, there's somebody in this town has it or can put their hands on it. And I'm just pro Alexandria, I'm gonna be honest. The folks that's footing the bill, let them be able to feed from the trough also.
Mr. Marshall's point is that even though we're promoting minority and women-owned business, that you don't want to do that to the discredit or to the prejudice of those folks who are pumping their own dollars back into the community. And Mr. Marshall, at section 1044, the last one on limitations, you'll see that we added a jurisdiction, we added some requirements, and it's also within the body of it that do just that, just what you're asking for. so that we do keep it local at the end of the day. And if we can't find folks that we want to do business with, or someone comes as an outside interest, there are requirements that they become local by creating a local presence. And that calls for them to employ so many people locally for so many months out of the year, to create a satellite office, or to have done some other business with us in the past that was not subject to the Act. And so we've given 3 options for minority or women-owned business or small business. It doesn't have to just be minority or women-owned, and that's something that we've created here that makes it unique, but it still allows them to do that. So I appreciate it, and I think we've achieved it.
On the 50,000, tax credit and whatever, after we really get into it, get it straight, we'll come back and we'll have a special meeting, like we did before.
Yes.
And invite all the business, to come in and explain to them, what's available and the process and what they can do. And then we can explain, the other program.
And
how to
that
set
program
aside.
goes beyond just working with the city. It could help our businesses and not only small emergency businesses that are wanting to work with the city, but who want to just get involved and work generally in central Louisiana.
Okay, before I go, you want to introduce those two?
Yes, sir.
Did we carry the motion? We need I need a motion.
I move for the following motion with the added caveats suggested by the administration.
Second out.
Second.
Oh, all right. Move the second.
All in favor? All in favor?
All in favor? I mean, it's for special meeting tonight.
It'll come up for final passage.
I mean, final passage.
You want to amend it right now. You want to go ahead and amend it now.
Amend it?
Call for a vote on the amendments.
I move.
Yeah.
I move by second. Yeah.
Okay, is there any other amendment?
Yeah. All in favor? I didn't think we was in committee.
Oh, yeah, you are. You can amend it in committee.
Yeah, okay. All right, no, okay. All right, we'll go to,
Mr. Smith, I have a couple of fact sheets I'd like to introduce tonight. The first one is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease with Marion A. French for the use of 5 parking spaces located behind 610 Murray Street in Block 45 of the original plat of the city of Alexandria.
Move, I don't understand it.
Send it back. Second. Send it back.
okay,
Second.
move for introduction.
Send it back.
And
Send it back to legal with it.
the next one is a fact sheet entitled "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Enter into a Cooperative Endeavor Agreement with the Alexandria Weed and Seed Steering Committee."
Move.
Second.
And the last one is a fact sheet entitled "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Enter into a Professional Services Agreement with Charlie Anderson to be the Weed and Seed Program Coordinator."
Move.
Second.
Maybe some technical amendments to the contract. Gentlemen, I want to tell you up
The
front,
weed
it
and
has a
seed is the
retroactivity
program they had,
provision in it.
I
That's
decided
because he's
to-
been performing the
I mean,
services already, and we need to do that to correct it.
Is this 210?
Okay.
Mr.
What about the other, what about the other two we had?
I have a,
Okay.
we have 2 additional from planning and engineering, an ordinance for introduction authorizing the local cost share,
Yeah.
Alexander to the Gulf of Mexico flood study,
Okay.
and an ordinance that would amend the 2007-2008 capital budget for the Shetland Lake Canal study.
Okay.
You want to look at it?
No, that's fine. What about, did we introduce the other one?
We already passed the other resolution.
Okay.
I've already given them to Ms. Steels.
Okay. That's one Chuck had?
Yes.
Chuck found. Okay, anything else coming for legal?
Just one second.
All right. That's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's it for right now.
All right. We'll adjourn.
Public safety.
number 1 is here from the administration concerning, wait a minute, first of all, members of the committee from myself, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Silver, and Mr. Fowler, Mr. Lawson, President. Item number 1 is here from the administration concerning the state of infrastructure in the city of Alexandria. Ma'am?
I asked for that to be placed on so we could have a discussion about a couple of different items.
Oh, okay.
First of all, I want to tell you, Mr. Marshall, and to Mr. Lawson, that the 2 requests that you asked that we place to the state for capital outlay were timely made on October 31st at around 5:30 p.m. So both of those were made. That includes the trail and parks improvement, and they both involve considerable local matches because this city in particular has been good about not going to the legislature unless we come with money that we have too. So we had $3 million already that you all generously allocated for fast track, and we already had some things we had started in the program that you started with the trails. And so both of those were timely made and confirmed to have been received via their internet. They have a way you can transmit it via internet. So that was done October 31st. The due date was November 1. And then moving on, Mr. Marshall, I asked that this be placed on because over the past year, we've had an opportunity to review a lot of the issues surrounding our infrastructure in Alexandria and its state. In a lot of ways, Alexandria, because of decisions made in the past, has very sound infrastructure. Indeed, some folks, probably contractors especially, have probably thought we were too strict at times about how things were done here. But in any event, at this point, it is old and it's starting to ail in a lot of ways. There are things that we need to consider, both in terms of hard infrastructure, which is my way of talking about a street, or drainage and those things, and soft infrastructure, which I guess is kind of bad because it's not really soft in principle, but police and those kind of things which may not be physical like a road are still part of your infrastructure. Indeed, I guess you could call it cyberstructure now. Internet usage and all those things may seem not physical to us, but are part of our infrastructure. And in that fashion, we have some problems. Also, I think that with regard to utilities, and you have to think of that not just in terms of electricity, but in terms of all of the utility components of the city, there are some issues. And that's not just related to, we tend to focus on litigation concerns and all that. I'm talking beyond that. I shared some of that earlier with you, Mr. Marshall. But just briefly, there are 2 things that we're proposing, and this administration has attempted to lessen consultancies that are unneeded and use our professionals and task them with getting things done for the last year. But at this point, I believe that I need help, and I believe that it calls for a commission, and I believe that consistent with community-based planning, I think that we need to involve people in our community from all different walks of life, from ministers to engineers to a lot of different folks, to address the order and priority of infrastructure. And with that, under the authority given at 710 of the charter, the mayor at his option may appoint boards and commissions subject to council confirmation to advise the mayor regarding operations of city services or other activities, provided that those boards shall exercise no administrative or legislative responsibility, which is yours and yours alone. The appointments in our charter, way back when it was done, says this: appointments shall reflect the social, economic, and racial composition of the city. Members of those advisory boards receive no compensation and serve at the pleasure of the mayor. With that authority, don't have names yet, but have some notions about it. I've started sharing that with some of the members already. I would propose that 2 separate commissions be formed for these purposes. The first for the purpose of studying the needs of the Alexandria region's infrastructure, including soft infrastructure needs and reorganization of any fire and police department considerations we would have for optimum operational and managerial capacity. In that regard, we would want both chiefs to serve. Also, to study and prioritize funding needs for the city of Alexandria, including annexation, bonding capacity, and related issues, recreational and educational opportunities, and investment in related public-private collaboration. Number 3, to study, make, to study and make recommendations regarding other non-traditional notions of infrastructure which affect our quality of life, including public-private collaboration again. And I'm talking specifically about different agreements we have with folks who are faith-based to better utilize those services in the city and to increase faith-based initiative, local business participation in youth initiatives, and to increase involvement in government, civic responsibility, and education. And in that regard, I have in mind a program called Alexandria Corps that would look somewhat and be similar to AmeriCorps that was started on a national level, and this would be something that would be done through the police, fire, and faith-based initiatives. Lastly, to engage in direct fashion all of the different economic development engines of the region for purposes of creating uniform notions of opportunity for the city of Alexandria, but also to include all of the region and to use ARAP in that regard. I think that no matter how you feel about it, some people criticize the region and say we have too many economic development entities, and what it does is it waters down dollars. Some people say you can never have too many. What we need to do in this commission is we're not going to step on anybody's feet. We're not going to be involved in any kind of turf war stuff. We would like to get everybody to come forward with their best ideas and have a group of people that reflect all of the region to say, this is what we think is the priority. We think we have a lot of that in place now already with regard to the transition documents and so forth. And I think that we can do more in that regard. I think that you would need about 15 persons to serve on this board with several ex officio members, including Mr. Bill Hess, Mr. Marcus Canella, Ms. Mariel Lawson, and Ms. Vaughn Jennings. I was going to reserve 2 of the slots to have the board, the commission itself, pick 2 of its own members. So we would fill 13 spots and let the commission decide out in the community with no pushing from anybody else what 2 other people they believe would help. That would all be the infrastructure type board, and we can name it later. The second, Mr. Marshall, is to study in a comprehensive fashion all aspects of the City of Alexandria's several utility departments, including electric, water, gas, and sewer, and to include recommendations for rate reform, best practices, privatization notions, if any, and further oversight as may be from time to time needed, to also study in comprehensive fashion all aspects for settlement opportunities in the litigation titled City of Alexandria versus Clico Corporation, and to recommend regarding those frameworks for resolution with which we're being presented now, the ones that serve the community best and offer the best opportunities, and to give us written reasons and an initial report on or before December 31st, 2007, which I realize is ambitious, or state why that can't be done to help us and aid us in our decisions about how to move through that. I think that this commission would need to be no more than 5 members because it needs to be mostly a professional commission, and it needs to be limited in scope so that it can really work and get things done, while the other commission we propose is a much wider range of issues and should reflect that. The language in this would require that these commissioners cannot be compelled in any way or ordered to testify in front of any court or public body absent a court order, so that when they review things, that just like you have the privilege of reviewing executive session, they could too, but at some point they make a report publicly, so that we are, again, not making these decisions out of the air, but involving parts of the community. The focus of the Utility Commission is not in any way, and I need to be very clear about this for the public, to resemble the Lafayette model where there's a separate commission. That would take a charter commission and reorganization of charter. That is not what the purpose of this is for. It is strictly an advisory body to the mayor, so that we're moving outside of just my office, and I'm making sure that we're not being presented with only a few options and not looking at all of the options we have as a community. I would envision members coming from the business community and other places in Alexandria, including professionals, and I have in mind at least one member that I think comes directly from the utility arena that we ought to think about. And so those are things that I think that it's time we address in that fashion. I think those 2 commissions could be the most important things that we could do, even for me in the past year, to get us moving forward. And so, Mr. Marshall, with regard to number 1 on the agenda and part of number 2 about the parks, I believe Lisa Harris and some of her folks have a separate presentation on the state of the parks, which you've been waiting for, and I told you, Mr. Johnson, we'd have at this meeting. That's separate, but there are infrastructural problems. And as good as Alexandria is, we do have some very significant emergency preparedness and needs that go way out into the future, 10 and 20 years. And I think it's only fair that if we're going to talk about bonding and spending money and talk about where we are as a city, it ought to be reflected by other members of the city who are outside of government. I think that they have a lot to offer. And I would ask that you be thinking about that. And in the meantime, we'll start working on some members of that commission that we can all agree on. And I think it's a perfect opportunity for us to share in a big decision and move the city forward. And I thank you for your time.
Man, that sounds great, sounds great. Got one problem with it.
Yes, sir.
Commission. The word commission. We're gonna say, I'd like to see it, maybe look at it as a citizens advisory group that would advise us and the administration and the council on these issues, but a commission, I got a problem with that. Just the title that it can implicate.
Well, under the chart, we have boards and commissions. We can call it whatever you want. The function is just to be just that, an advisory group. Under the charter, Mr. Marshall, I think this should give you some solace in what I know you're concerned about. In the past, you can start a commission, and the commission all of a sudden takes on the function beyond which it has authority. But luckily for us, in the charter, it says that no board or commission organized this way can exercise administrative or legislative authority. And so we would make that very clear up front, that this is advisory only, and it's to advise us about things, and that they would not be able to vote and determine something at all. And I think that can be achieved in the language that organizes the commission. And you know, we'll have to send that down anyway, but the point is, I understand your concerns, and I agree, I share the same concerns. That's why folks elected you to do that job, and that's what we want to continue to do.
Sounds like a good idea. But we can,
down the board of the city. This is what the problem,
But
aside for the public, I'm sorry.
Just up to the podium.
I don't want to come to no podium, but I just got a concern with all these commissions that keep being created. Got to say my name too?
Yes, ma'am.
Ferdell Griffin is my name. I have a concern, because every time a commission is created, it's always bogged down with a lot of the employees and not enough people from the community. If I heard correctly, I only heard just 2 slots left for community people, and the commission selects those people. How do you know? Did I hear that correctly?
No, ma'am.
Okay, say it again, because I think I understood it.
No, in fact, on both commissions, the commissions will be served by people in the community only. The folks that I mentioned that would be on it are ex officio non-voting members to give them the information they need from the city standpoint. As a matter of fact, on both of those, the whole purpose is to get out of government and to get out into the community and let community folks serve on the commission instead of people in
You
government.
still have all those employees sitting on it as officials on that committee. Sometimes you need to draw back off of it and let the community operate by itself. We do elect y'all as our representative, but we do have a voice besides y'all voice as well.
And again, Mr. Marshall, the whole purpose is to do just what the lady is concerned about, and that is to get it out of government and for us to be advised. And I do think that that's exactly what it would do. It won't have any employees, and no one will serve and be compensated. The people who will compose the infrastructure committee or commission, we can call it a committee, will be pastors from churches. It will involve folks that are from all over the community. I think one slot should be the juvenile judge from the area, because that's part of what we're doing. And I think Judge Patricia Cook, who I would love to ask to serve, was in the newspaper today talking about things that she's doing with juvenile justice. So all of those things can be addressed. I think we should have people from that were involved with schools and I think teachers instead of board members, but teachers specifically. And we thought about having teachers who have won major awards. That's one consideration that you could have. But the design, again, and maybe that was lost, the design, again, is not to have it filled with government folks.
I'd like to see that, that maybe look at the neighborhoods and have more neighborhood input from neighborhood organizations. Because when it all boils down to it, those are the folks that we're actually talking about. So maybe, maybe we look at it from that standpoint for those people to serve on that board should maybe become kind of like a community development citizens advisory group. Neighborhood folks are just plain old everyday Joes, but we got the school teachers and the doctors and the engineers that are neighborhood folks also. So, all right, we can, this is a step forward. And we can work with it and try to make it happen. Okay, next item. Hear from the administration concerning the parks.
How you doing, Mr. Marshall? I'm gonna ask Mr. Rachel to join me.
Coach.
How you doing, sir? We wanted to give you an update as to where we are on bringing our parks up to par. We have met, and when I say we, the Community Services along with Public Works and the Planning Department have met us several times in regards to bringing our park system up to par. I'll let Mr. Rachel talk to you. We did an assessment ourselves in-house as to what we currently have. The city is right now maintaining 31 parks, which is about 300 acres. And we went out, actually Darren Green, the urban forester, went out and assessed those parks to see what was basically needed as far as maintenance. And based on his assessment, Mr. Rachel and his crew, his department, has went out and done some things, some maintenance to bring those parks up to par. And once he finishes, I'll bring you up to date as where we're going for an overall comprehensive plan of putting our parks into perspective.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Just to the councilman, just most of the things we've done in our area is kind of going in and kind of seeing things that were down and kind of putting it back up in perspective in reference to our city park areas, most of our federal parks as well as our community parks. We've gone in and addressed some issues in reference to dugouts, bathroom facilities, fences that have been down. We're just trying to mend things to making sure that our parks would be very presentable to our community as well as those folks who come in and visit them. So that's basically what we're doing right now. So we're trying to just, not only our ball fields, but also our parks as well. We're fixing our benches, we're fixing roofs on things that are there. We're making sure everything is mended in reference to our playground equipment as well. Those are some things we're still working on. And we're still working on a lot of our facilities that needed a little extra work, some time consuming. We, plan as the winter month gets here, we plan on getting into most of those parks, kind of beautifying them up before the season starts back in January.
Well, playground equipment and all of this in it too. A couple of weeks ago, a couple of council meetings ago, Kay and I talked about the padding and some of the under some of the playground equipment that was. Do we have any playground equipment where in the summer that it gets hot enough to burn children's feet? Do we have any such?
Most of our playground equipment right now have sand, and and everything we talk about, listening to Darren and Lisa, myself, and the other committees, we talk about everything we do now. All new equipment now will padding. Everything we would put in now will all have padding. All our decks in reference to if it be sliding board, it could be swing sets, something of that magnitude. All of them have some form of padding. What we call it, the merry-go-round. Everything they have, we would be able to have some form of padding and safety features itself, but it won't be any reference to anything that would burn at your, child's foot or leg or something like that that's fall off it.
Ever since I saw that on television, I've been kind of worried about that.
I have a question, and since we are having an ambitious program trying to improve the parks, is there any way we can incorporate some sort of monitoring when there may be pride of maintenance, but we don't have the utter destruction we've had, and many of them, some have no problem, others are completely emasculated by abuse, and that would cut down the expense and also give us some additional monies to keep improving.
Well, a couple weeks ago, I came to you and I talked about completing a comprehensive Parks and Recreation plan. And actually, on the agenda tonight, we have a resolution where we can put an RFQ out for such a plan. And in that plan, we're looking to address just what you're talking about, a maintenance plan where every year there's certain things in your parks that you're going to go and check to maintain it so that you will make sure if it's broken bleachers or if it's bathroom facilities, you would actually have a developed maintenance plan that you're following year by year. And it also would have, we're asking for a capital part of that where we know 5 years down the line, we would allocate funding to improve a park, whether it's to put new equipment in, to go in and assess the equipment that we have. We also want to address in this plan, looking at the National Parks and Recreation guidelines, some of our playgrounds may not be up to par as far as skate parks. You and I talked about that. That's the number one thing that's happening now, or kids are looking for. And we need to identify out of these 300 acres that we have, whether a community wants that, and if they do, then which one of those are we going to take and adapt that to that skate park or to a playground or whatever it is. So this comprehensive plan will actually give us a guide to do our regular maintenance and to have some community buy-in. We want to kind of marry programs with the parks as far as we've been doing in the past, having the parks and then trying to develop the programs. If it be that it's a skate park or a bicycle park or whatever that the community wants, then we need to take our property and develop it into the needs. And through this plan, we're going to have community meetings and meetings with stakeholders, leaders in the community to get their buy-in and their input as to what they would like to see in our park system. So hopefully, with the resolution tonight, we're going to put that RFQ out for 30 days and we'll be able to come back. And we are still on the fast track to have at least one of our water spray pads up and going for the first of the summer. But hopefully we will have this plan completed that when we kick off the summer, you will see activity and a noticeable improvement, a uniform look in all of our park systems, our parks throughout the city.
There is, like you and I had discussed, and Kay, I think you and I discussed it also, Mayor. I'd like to see us kind of put that skate park somewhere in the mix, seriously. Right now, just about every afternoon, you can find young men and young women over in our parking garage. And they sit down and kids are skateboarding in there. Some kids drive from across town to skateboard in the parking garage. And I wouldn't be up here saying this, and I wouldn't have asked about it, but I have until yet walked amongst those young people over there and heard any profanity. I hadn't heard anything about litter and stuff over there. They put the trash in the trash cans. These are well-mannered kids that are over there skateboarding. And some of them are young adults. Some of them are in their early 20s. But they're over there having fun. And to me, that's something that we need to look at and do. And I hope my colleagues feel the same way. If any of you think, hey, stop over there under the parking garage, the city's parking garage over there. Talk to some of those young people.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Well, we understand, administration understands, and hopefully, like I said, this plan is going to get us there. In doing the assessment, and I'll be honest with you, looking at what the National Parks and Recreation, what they recommend, skate parks was on the top of the list. So through this plan, we'll be able to identify that and get the input from, because right now, if we put it up in an area that the need may not be there, we need to make sure that we're putting the money sensibly where it needs to be with the facilities and all of the equipment. So we won't come back to you 5 years later and say, we need to do it another place.
I think there's some money out there with the Tony Hawk Foundation.
Oh, yes, you're right, you're absolutely right.
So we can do it.
Yes.
I believe it. I think we can do that. Anything else?
Are you done?
I have something else on this, but I'll let you.
Oh, I just have another agenda item fact sheet for introduction. If you want to go first. This is to allow the mayor to enter into the contract authorizing the fire union's new contract that we just finished negotiating.
And introduction of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the fire union local 540. And open it up. Second. Move second. Send it to, what, legal?
Very good.
And Mr. Marshall, I have two fact sheets as well, since I'm here. One of them is a resolution authorizing the Division of Community Services support to the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism, an application for event sponsorship for the 2008 Barbecue Festival, Queuing on the Red. In order for me to apply for funding, I have to have a resolution from this body allowing me to do that. So this resolution, if you pass that, will give me the opportunity to apply for that.
We can vote.
Okay.
Just introduce it and vote on it here.
Okay. Let me send it to the group.
It doesn't have to be unanimous. I might vote against it.
Harry gonna vote for it. We send it to, okay.
Yes, for the barbecue.
Right, we just completed that, and those guys are anxious to
No, you
get
need to
their
vote on it.
contract.
Oh, you did? Okay, I just thought you introduced it.
And finally, this Saturday, we all year we've been celebrating the city's bicentennial, and I have a fact sheet here for the mayor to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the symphony. We are planning an event that recognizes the city's religious history. They are providing musical selections and interdenominational choir, and this would allow us to do that.
Musical history.
Yes.
Tiffany's gonna do some R&B.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter a written cooperative endeavor agreement with the Rapid Symphony Orchestra for the production of an interdenominational prayer service offering musical selection, recognizing the city's religious history.
That's good.
Move. Yeah, second. All in favor?
All right.
Anything else?
Good to see you.
Please adjourn.
Well, the Director of Economic Development Committee, thank you, Mr. Marshall. Members present are yours truly, Mr. Silver and Mr. Smith. I'm going to ask that we take the agenda a little out of order. Our district attorney is here to speak to one item. We'll go to item number 4. We also have some wonderful people here to speak and support the update from Ms. Melinda Anderson on the historic survey. But at this time, let's take item number 3, which is an item that probably could have been placed on the public safety, but it's on this item. And I want to the discussion from our administration and certainly our district attorney to discuss abandoned children in vehicles. Mr. Gates.
Mr. Lawson, there's been a growing trend with young children being left, or actually young children being found on our streets, in parking lots. The chief has noted a number of these instances, and the district attorney, Mr. Downs, has come in this afternoon to address the concerns and the matters. And with that, I'll bring the chief up. He can explain some of the more recent matters that have come to his attention in the department.
And this came to my attention, I had one of my staff representatives come to the office very upset, and she did report it. A child was left in the car in one of the parking lots, and the parent was in the shopping center shopping, and that's totally unacceptable to me, and it is according to the chief and certainly district attorney as well. And I wanted to know what we can do as a body to strengthen the laws, if anything, to make sure it doesn't happen, and more importantly, or as importantly, to make sure that the public is aware and kind of monitor this as well. Mr. Our Chief.
Yes, good afternoon. The good thing about this is that out of these 14 reports that we had since January of 2007 was the public reporting these children that were left alone in certain instances. And some of them were even left alone at their own residence. We had 5 reports of those children that were put out of vehicles for various reasons. They were in an accident and the parent didn't want the police to find out there were warrants outstanding, so he put the children out and left the scene. 1 child left alone in a motel room. 2 reports of children found alone on public streets. 1 report of a child found in the mall for the second time was abandoned in the mall. And 3 reports of children that were left in vehicles, one of which the vehicle was left running with the windows up, and 2 very small children. Of the 14 reports, 9 arrests were made concerning these incidents. I think that the public is aware that they don't want to find children left alone any place. I would add that one of these reports of the children left in a vehicle, which I showed to Mr. Downs, was I think a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. 3-year-old was drinking a Bud Light when the officers drove up, with beer all over the vehicle. So, somewhat of a problem. Mr. Downs is going to give us some information concerning the laws and how we might avail ourselves to the prosecution in these matters. Yes, 9 arrests out of 14 reports.
I think the chief ought to know, is this for public consumption, Chief?
Sure.
This information.
What were the ages of these children? Just spectrum.
Anywhere from months, 10 months, 7 months to 10 years old.
Roy and members of the council, thank you for having me here. Mr. Gist asked me to come by briefly just to visit with you to see about what we could do to work on this apparently increasing problem. There are 3 sets of laws that apply to this. One is a Alexandria City Code ordinance, and then there are 2 state laws that apply. If a child is harmed by a caretaker parent or other adult who leaves a young child unattended, and a child